I'm artist Lillian Gray, and today we are making emperor penguins with air dry clay. Before you guys proceed with this project, please make sure that you have watched my other video on the basics of working with air dry clay, so you guys know how to roll a slab, how to wedge your clay, how to make slip, and how to do different joints. Okay, let's get going. The first thing you need to make is going to be the inner of your sculpture, which is called the armature. So for this project, I've just kind of rolled thick paper and taped it together. There's various things you guys can do. You can use newspaper to do this. You can maybe stuff an old toilet paper roll or a paper towel roll with things, as long as you just have a strong structure. You don't want it to be too solid, so it must have a bit of a bend because your clay is going to shrink when it dries and it needs a little bit of movability. After day 3 of the clay drying, you will be removing this from your sculpture. Okay, what I've done here is I've made a slab. My slab is quite long, and I am going to try and wrap my structure in my slab. So to do that, I'm going to be cutting just a straight line here. You can use a ruler or whatever you like, and I'm cutting with my little pen. If you don't have a pen, you can use a kebab stick or a toothpick. I am now going to also just cut this side straight where I'm going to start. Note that I'm not cutting those two sides. I'm deliberately leaving them like that. So I'm lining my armature up with my clay. It is absolutely in line, and I'm going to start lifting. Note that I'm working on cloth. I'm not working on plastic. You want something that ideally absorbs some of the moisture of your clay. And I'm going to bend this around, right? So I'm going to kind of measure, boom, there it starts reaching. So my other piece of clay, I'm just going to give it like an extra centimeter and cut. I'm now going to remove this part of the slab, and I am going to prop up my cylinder. Now, basic principles of clay: whenever you join something, you have to scratch. So I am scratching wherever I'm going to join. I scratch on both sides. I'm also adding slip, which is like the glue of my clay. And I am gently going to start working this in. So did you guys know that emperor penguins are quite like super tall? I bet a lot of you are thinking, ooh, Lillian, this cylinder is too long for making an emperor penguin. But they're actually the height of a 6-year-old child. So they're quite tall, which is like just over a meter, 115 centimeters in height. And I am working this in, and if I need my sponge, I'm going to be using my sponge to make sure it all goes down smoothly. And the idea is that you won't be able to see your joint at all. And also the idea is that you are going to not have any air inside this joint. Remember, air is the enemy of clay. It makes your clay burst and crack. We don't want that. So I'm kind of made sure that my cylinder is now nicely joined. Okay, we're now going to close off the top. So don't push too hard, but you're going to kind of start and gently moving this in, trying to close your cylinder. Okay, we're not closing it all the way because we are still going to add our penguin's head, but I've just kind of squeezed here, flattening this out. You guys can see that. All right, now I'm just going to set this aside a little bit so we can make all the other parts that we need to complete our penguin. Okay, I'm going to start by making my legs. They've got like really strong legs because they survive in the Arctic. And remember, whatever you're going to build, it's going to consist out of your basic shapes. So you're basically just going to be using your 5 basic shapes to create whatever. And that is going to be your circle, your oval, your triangle, your rectangle, and your square. If your clay gets a little bit dry and it's not so malleable, just sprinkle some water on it just to get it moving again. You don't want to have it as a mud bath. Um, but I'm basically going to start building my legs, which is going to consist out of my hip joint, the actual leg, and we're going to make the feet separately. So I'm now going to make the feet. My feet is going to be teardrops. So they actually have like quite massive feet, these emperor penguins. Um, their feet so massive because they have to cradle their egg of their little baby off the ice. So the whole egg and the little chickling sits on top of the feet. So it's like a little nest. And they take shifts, mom and dad, to go hunt and find food. So I'm going to be making my 3 teardrops. I just want to show you guys here, your inner toe is actually just a little bit longer than the outside ones. Okay, so we are just going to be making that. So this is your basic structure: hip, leg, feet. All right, and you're going to repeat this so that you obviously have 2 legs, because 1 leg would be weird. Okay, now we're going to take this 2L sculpture. I'm going to bring back my cylinder. We're going to scratch and join, and I'll show you guys how to join all of this together. Okay, so planning is a really important part of art. So I'm just going to kind of hold this here and just see my leg is going slightly forward. And I'm just going to mark out where I want to join it. Okay, so I'm going to be joining those. I'm going to be scratching both sides. I'm going to add slip, and then I'm going to work it in with my fingers. And then we're going to repeat this for the other side as well. Alright, I've joined it and now I have to work it in. Before I start working in this side, I'm actually just quickly going to do the other side. So he's going to look a little bit like R2-D2, like an elongated R2-D2, and make sure that your 2 hip bones are on the opposite sides of each other. And the same height, guys. You don't want a wonky penguin. Okay, one weird looking penguin. So we're now gonna work in his butt and make his hips look all natural. And I'm also going to scratch here in the front and join our beautiful big feet. Yeah, I'm gonna start with the 2 middle toes and just get those ones like really aligned. They really do have big feet. I know these feel like too big, but go Google it. Their feet's like way bigger than their head. So I'm just going to merge in this one toe. What I would also recommend, you don't want it to look like a dinosaur or like a chicken. So they actually curl their toes a little bit. So I'm just going to curl them a little bit like that, because remember they're trying to lift the chick off the ice. If you've made your toes too big, just simply cut off a piece with your little pin. Guys, just remember, we don't freak out when our project is halfway, because our projects look terrible in art when we're halfway. Sometimes when I'm painting a human, it looks like a freaking alien when I'm not done yet. And now your penguin's also going to look a little bit weird, stuck between some Star Wars monster. So just don't freak out about it. Like, there'll be lots of time to freak out later in your life. Don't waste your energy on it. It looks weird now, and look, even mine looks weird. Okay, what's going to be important here is your V. So these claws are coming from that leg, and these claws are coming from this leg. Does that make sense? So you just want to kind of show that V. You can use anything to like just scratch that V in. Straw works. I love working with metal straws as well when I work with clay. I'm using a piece of wood here, which is actually like the back of an old canvas wedge, which also works really well. And their feet are really atrocious looking. So, I mean, it's not like they've got spas out there in Antarctica. And we will get to the detail of finishing the little nails and stuff just now, but I think for now let's just keep going with our structure of our penguin. It's nice to let your clay just sit a little bit so it becomes like leather, because you can really then work in the details quite properly. So I'm quite happy with these paws. Eventually I'm going to have a little baby sitting here on the feet. So I'm not too worried about how everything's worked off here now. Okay, moving on, we are going to progress to let's do the tail. All right, so tail, we're going to take some clay and basic shapes again. It's literally just a triangle. If your clay is a bit dry by now, just dip it to make sure you can work with it. Don't make it too muddy, okay? It's impossible to work with clay that's too wet. So I am going to be making my little triangle. I'm wedging in my hand, as you guys can see. Your body has all its basic shapes inside of it. You just have to work with your body. Don't fight your body. So we're going to scratch its butt. And scratch and slip as usual. And I'm going to add my emperor penguin's cute little tail. Okay, we're going to move this to the side and we are going to be making our wings. And then we'll come back and join our wings. Alright, so basic shapes once again to make our wings. And our wings are going to consist out of 2 spheres. And we're just gonna join it in the middle. There's many ways to skin a cat. You can also just take a slab and draw out a wing if you want. I find it's much harder to get them symmetrical. So I actually like working like this, and because then you don't need templates and all that nonsense. So, and I'm repeating this step because I obviously have 2 wings. Alright, and now I'm going to join them. So the wings are a bit wonky and bent, so make sure you get this bent area of the wing. You can work in your clay and really make sure that it joins properly. Make sure that it's malleable. Make sure that you're getting all the air out. There's wing number 1. You can see the little bend. I'm flipping it around. I'm making sure that it's joined properly at the back as well. And now you guys just have to focus. You guys just need to realize that this wing's going to be on the one side and the other one's going to be on the other side. So they have to be mirror view. Okay, so I'm joining them and now I'm not mirroring because I'm actually just going to flip it around. And I'm joining. Okay, now I have my basic 2 wings. So they're gonna mirror each other like that. Alright, so I'm just planning my wing is gonna kind of come in like that and then rest here where the leg, just above the leg. So I'm just kind of planning, and I'm just gonna also plan that out on the other side. If you scratch wrong, doesn't matter, we just work that scratch back in. I'm going to just measure here, and I'm going to see that I really kind of like this. This is exactly what I wanted. So I'm going to scratch my wings, same principle, scratch both sides, the wing and the body, add the slip and work it in with your fingers. Okay, making sure everything's worked in. And you're gonna have these little cute shoulders. Penguins have such cute little shoulders. They really slant. They look like they're made out of little dough balls. Okay, so we're now going to join the head. I'm going to be making a parent guarding its little baby. So he or she's going to be looking down with so much care and love to make sure she's okay. So the head's going to be slanting off like that. Now their heads are actually very small, much smaller than the feet. Penguins, emperor penguins proportions are a bit weird. So we're basically going to be putting this on here. You guys need to make 100% sure that you really scratch the step really well, okay? And add enough slip because you do not want the head to slip off. All right, I'm ready to add my head. I'm also now actually just going to wedge the beak. So there's my head. I'm gonna squeeze my head on, and she's lovingly, or he is lovingly looking down. For this back section, I'm now going to fill in clay here. So I am, same principle, I'm gonna use a basic shape, which is just an oval, which is gonna start giving me the neck. I'm going to work it in quite properly, and I'm going to make sure that I use more than enough slip. Okay, you can always remove some slip, just scratch it off with a stick or something, but I really want to be able to work this in now. Alright, now I've got my basic structure of my emperor penguin. It still feels a little bit too upright, like a little bit like a robot. So I'm just going to put in a bit of a hump here at the back. And the same thing applies. You guys are just going to take some clay and we're going to scratch on both sides, slip and join. Okay, just to get the bit of a hump because she's kind of crouching over. Alright, now you guys can really just tweak and make sure that you're happy with the structure. Remember your sponge. You want to smooth out all your stuff now and really just finish off your mama penguin quite well. Make sure she's clean, make sure she's smooth, and everything is worked in. We are then going to move on to making our little chickling. Do not skip this step. I know some of you are lazy, you don't want to do the finishing off. It's so important to finish off your projects well. You've spent all this time making it, all these supplies, and by just spending like 3 more minutes or 5 more minutes, you really get a well-crafted project. Okay, we're going to be doing the eyes. I'm using the back of my pen here. You can also use a pen. I'm going to be making sure I have my eyes at the exact same height and the exact same side, opposite of it. And then they've actually got a bit of a little triangle, both sides. If you don't want to make such a complicated eye, just make 2 dots, it doesn't matter. Remember, you can use a soft paintbrush to get into areas where the sponge is maybe a bit big. Make sure you've got really worked it off nicely. With our feet, if you want, you can make some claws. They've got quite weird claws, so if you want to do the claw, you can. If you don't want to do that, just leave it. Gonna really show the feet. And now let's put this aside and make the baby. Alright, we're wedging some clay. We're making our baby. Just keep your proportions in mind. She's very small, not as big as a mom. There's no armature inside, and it's basically just 2 circles, 2 squares, small one and a big one. And we're going to add little feet and little wings, and that's going to basically be it. So first up, you want to take your sphere and you want to just try and push it so it's a bit more of a teardrop, not completely a circle. I hope that makes sense, because she's kind of like thinner at the top and then wider at the bottom. We are going to be scratching. adding slip, like a little snowman, and working in with your finger this tiny head. Okay, I'm just going to make tiny, two tiny little feet, which is also just 2 circles. I'm gonna plonk it here. It's like a little snowman, like a little Olaf almost. And you can just take your toothpick or your pin and just give it the little toesy woesies. They also have 3 toes on each side, like mom and dad. And I am going to take my fingers and just start pinching a little beak. I'm also now going to take my little pin and I'm going to pin the 2 little eyes and just wiggling a little bit. There's my baby little penguin, and we are now going to add the wings. So make sure you've worked it off nice and smooth. Hey guys, same principle. You're going to take your sponge or your paintbrush and you're going to be working it off quite nicely. So let's add our wings. Their wings aren't as like grown up yet and really formed. So it's literally, I'm just going to roll a worm and just add 2 baby wings. Make sure they're the same size. And then we're going to scratch, scratch, scratch and slip, slip, slip and add our baby wings. You can decide, you can either curl the wings in or push them out. I think she looks a little bit more cuter and helpless. They're a little bit out. So that's what we're going to do. Next up, we are going to turn her around and we are going to give her a little tail. You can either add a triangle, but if you've got enough clay, you can just pinch the butt. I am going to add a triangle. And there's our little penguin. So she's done. Okay, so you can make now, just ensure that the cavity where your little penguin has to go and sit at the end of all of this is the right size and that it's actually going to fit. I see my tail is too long, so I'm actually just going to break off a little bit of this tail, make this tail much smaller, and make sure that my little penguin can actually rest on mama's feet. So that is going to be my goal. I'm not going to put these 2 on top of each other when I let them dry. They're going to dry separately. But I just need to make sure that she's actually going to be able to fit. So I'm pretty sure she can sit there. I'm going to clean her up, just make sure her little claws are still nice and clean. Okay, that's it for our beautiful little emperor penguin mother and child or father and child sculpture. I'm now just going to quickly show you guys how to pack this one away. We want to store them separately and not let them dry together on top of each other like this. Okay, I'm going to be putting my sculpture on a polystyrene nail stand, and I'm layering it with some paper towel. Paper towel is going to absorb any of the excess water that's going to evaporate off the clay. I'm going to gently just take it off my stand. And plonk my baby next to it. And now I'm going to cover it with plastic, 2 layers of plastic. One from the one side, one from the other side. Okay, you can give her a little kisses goodnight. Not gonna see her for 3 days. Okay, all tied up. So So this is going to go into a dark cupboard for at least 3 days. Then we're going to take the plastic off. We're going to open the cupboard door, let it dry for another few days. It has to take about a week for your sculpture to dry. Don't speed up the drying process. Don't rush it. Never put it in direct sunlight. It's really bad for your clay. It's going to crack. So I want it to take at least a week. If you're like in England and it's really cold and rainy, it will take even longer. But that's good. Slow is good. But yeah, just please don't rush this process. We don't want this to crack. Okay, that's it for our video on how to make an emperor penguin, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please give this video a like if you did, and subscribe to our channel to not miss out on some awesome art projects. I'm artist Lillian Gray, and see you next time.